Hey everybody, I'm JJ. You're watching Reality Survival. So today I wanted to talk about top 10 questions to ask yourself if SHTF, if you have a big event happen. This could be a wide variety of things, but we're talking about something that's disrupting civil society in some way, kind of a bigger thing, not so much a personal type of SHTF situation, but more of a national kind of thing. So this was spurred on by an article that I saw in Survivalpedia. So that's survivalpedia.com. And I have a little different take on it than they do. Not to say that theirs is necessarily wrong, but I just figured I would add my voice to the conversation. So first one to ask here is what happened? And that is that, you need to, and I'm just kind of looking at my notes here because I went down the list. You need to understand the nature of the threat. You need to gather some intelligence. You need to figure out, what this situation is. Is it really serious? Is it not serious? Is it just people panicking for no reason? Is it, what's going on? One of the best way to do that is going to be with on-scene alert. And as you guys know, I'm an affiliate member with them. You can go to onscenealert.com, use the discount code Reality Survival. It'll save you 30%. They are going to send out, anytime there's any big incidents like that, they're going to be sending out alerts and messages to let you know what's going on to your text messages right to your cell phone. They also do the daily intel brief, global intelligence brief, which I think is really awesome. But for this particular video, the thing that's important about that is the text messages. It's going to help you figure out what's seriously what's happening. Number two is, how long is it before people start to react badly if they haven't already, right? So this is going to help you determine your sense of urgency. So for example, if you had an EMP versus a nuclear weapon being fired versus a pandemic. Obviously, I've talked about EMP shields in the past. Just a quick plug on that. If you want to get some EMP protection for your home, your vehicles, your generators, your solar panels, any of that kind of stuff, you can use discount code Reality Survival at empshield.com and save you $50 per unit. All right. The reason I think those are awesome is because they're tested by Keystone Compliance Labs, which also does a lot of testing for Department of Defense and Homeland Security and all that other kind of stuff. And they have certified it as an independent third party saying that they work. That's the reason I trust them. So let's say here, if you had an EMP, then it's going to, especially if it was like a regional, where it was just affecting regional or whatever the case may be, maybe the West Coast or something along those lines, then you're going to have more time for before people start acting really badly, probably. Because it's going to take a while for people to figure out what's going on and all that kind of stuff. And, it's just going to kind of be like, what's going on? Why is the power out? And they'll ramp up to getting excited, probably within 24 hours. But it's probably not going to be right away. Everybody's just going to be like, oh, the power went out. That sucks. But if it was a nuclear explosion, like a ground burst nuclear explosion, and it didn't cause a wide area power outage, because ground burst explosions don't, then people are going to see it on the news and all that kind of stuff, and they're like, holy crap, we're in nuclear war, and everybody is going to go crazy immediately, right? It's going to be different. And then if you've got a pandemic, it's going to be, probably a slow reaction as well, because people are not worried about it like happening instantaneous. But that is going to change the way that you react to it. It may change, maybe you decide, hey, I've got some time to go to the grocery store to stock up on a few things that I was, hadn't got around to or whatever. And then I'll go and grab my kid and then I'll go home. But in another situation, you might say, oh, you know what? I can't go to the grocery store now. I got to get my kid. I got to get home. So it could just change how you decide to react. So you kind of think about that and how do you anticipate people are going to react. Number three is, where's my family and are they safe? And if they are safe, for how long? And this is, again, helping you prioritize your actions and your route home. I kind of skipped a little ahead on that one. When you do this, you want to avoid major freeways, highways. Depending on the nature of the disaster, you may have time to stop at the store and stock up on perishables, bread, milk, etc. And again, especially if you have an early warning, like the on-scene alert warning or something along those lines. Okay, number 4, is it safe to stay home? If not, where would you be safer and why? That's a really important thing. Like, your home is going to be kind of your base of operations. It's going to be your standby and the place where you're going to be safest in most situations. The vast majority of situations, your home is probably going to be the best place. Unless you live like in a really bad urban city center or something along those lines with a ton of population and people are going to be panicking or something. And if you live out in the suburbs or out in a rural area, even more so, then you're probably going to be pretty safe. But you need to ask yourself, where would you be safer and why? Because if you're just planning, if you move without having a plan, then you might not be safer there. Let's say that you live in the city and you think, holy crap, I got to get out of the city. I got to go to the mountains and hit the hills. And you take your camping stuff and all that kind of stuff, but you didn't realize that there's a huge winter storm coming through and you were completely caught by surprise and unprepared for it, and you end up dying of exposure in the mountains where you would have been safer in the city. So it all really just depends, but you need to ask these questions to yourself, because acting without thinking things through is probably going to put you in a worse situation rather than a better one. All right, number 5 is if you are safer at home, should you do anything to make your home even more safe? So, for example, if it's in an earthquake situation, maybe turn off your gas at the meter. Or let's say if it was a chemical leak situation where a railroad car had gone by spewing out noxious gas, came close to your neighborhood, and they were telling everybody to stay inside. Maybe you didn't have to evacuate, but you had to stay inside. Maybe you had to turn off your central air and the AC so that stuff didn't come, it wasn't sucking the stuff into your house or something. I don't really know. This is just for example, for instances. I mean, you're probably going to have to leave your house or evacuate short term if there was a chemical leak in your area. But anyway, all right. So, or maybe it is a situation where you just need to close the entrance gates to your driveway to keep people out. Maybe you just need to get some home defense firearms out, get your plate carrier ready and stuff, have med kits available and accessible. Who knows? It just, it's hard to say. What depends on what the emergency is. So number 6 is, how well will local law enforcement be able to deal with this situation? Are they staffed or manned to be able to provide significant assistance? Will the hospitals be able to keep up? Will ambulances be able to respond? And will firefighters be able to respond? That's a good thing to think about, because those basic emergency services, if they're not going to be able to respond, then you have to handle all that stuff yourself, and you need to be ready for that. Firefighting is one of those big things that I think a lot of preppers overlook. They don't have 10-pound fire extinguishers in multiple rooms in the house, especially one in your bedroom or in the hall outside your kids' rooms, and that kind of thing, where you can collectively use them as you go through a fire if your house was engulfed in flames to help you get out. But that's kind of off the point. The main thing is what do you need to do? What do you need to be able to be ready to handle if emergency services can't come and help you? Number 7 is, if the threat will require you to leave your home, is your bug out bag or bug out gear ready to go? Do you just take the bag, or do you take a full load out in your vehicles, with everything that you can possibly take with you? For me, I'm not going to leave the house unless my trucks and my trailer is completely full of stuff. If I can do that. If I have to leave, it's so dangerous here where I'm at, I'm going to take as much as I can with me. But maybe you don't have time. Maybe it's a weird circumstance where you don't have time and you just have to grab that backpack and run. That would be strange, but you never know. Number 8 is, does the situation require additional security? If so, what does that look like for your situation? Are you and your 6 closest neighbors who live in the country going to just get out radios, have them on in case anybody needs help? Or are you in an urban neighborhood where you and your neighbors are going to close off the street to keep people out of your neighborhood unless they live there? Or maybe you're just going to start a neighborhood watch patrol and just kind of, walk around at night or in the evenings or something along those lines. It really all just depends on the situation, but you need to start thinking about these things fairly early on when stuff happens so that you can get it organized. And hopefully you've talked about this with some of these people ahead of time so that when something does happen, you can kind of just enact the plans that you come up with. Number 9 is, will your water and sewage stay on? That's a big one. You use a lot of water for a lot of things, and if it all of a sudden turns off, you need to be able to deal with that. You might need to start thinking about water procurement options early before it gets too dangerous, or perhaps fill containers with tap water while it's still working. If it's maybe it was a big power outage or something along those lines, you might have water for a little while, but pretty soon it's probably going to stop flowing. So think about those. Number 10, what's next? I would say start wargaming if-then scenarios. If this happens, then we'll do this. If this happens, then we'll do this. Just kind of go down the list of, based on whatever it is that you're facing in that situation, think of possible outcomes and maybe write them out on a whiteboard or a chalkboard or whatever the case may be, and just kind of just war game and brainstorm of different potential options to deal with. And then when those things happen, you've at least got the start of a plan to do something. Number 11, the bonus item here is inventory your preps. Prioritize what you'll need to worry about the most. Perhaps you're good to go on food and water, but maybe you need some more stored BTUs, to keep the house warm in the middle of the winter if the power's out. Who knows? Maybe getting your generator out and getting it fired up, making sure it's good to go, making sure it's working. That could be important. It just all depends on the situation. But the main thing is think through these things, and hopefully that'll give you at least a pretty good head start on getting yourself, in the right direction, getting your mind oriented in the right direction to take care of important things. I did another video talking about the top 10 things to do when SHTF happens, and I'll try to link that here in the end card so you can take a look at that as well. That's kind of more along the lines of not just asking questions to yourself and thinking about things, but more of like, what do you need to do physically? So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, I definitely appreciate it when you click the thumbs up button. If you're on Getter, then follow me over on Getter. I'm at Reality Survival. I think that would be cool. Seems to be a fairly decent platform, a lot more freedom-minded and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, guys, take care, and don't forget to live 6 P's. Proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. Stay safe.